All right, stay up. No, no, please have a seat. Please have a seat. But I think you already answered the question, but just in case, spring 2016, Naropa commencement, how does it feel? So heartiest welcome to everyone, to the parents, the families, the allies and friends whose love and support has been the bedrock of this journey, and to the staff without whom we'd certainly be unraveling rather than gathering, and to the faculty who continuously poured out their wisdom cups for our benefit, and of course to 214 students that in 2 or 3 hours will proudly be able to call themselves Naropa graduates. Yeah. My name is Nataraja Kallio. I will be serving as your MC today instead of our Dean of Students, Dr. Leary Nurse, who just a touch ahead of schedule just became a papa, which of course highlights another significance about today. I think it's safe to conclude that none of us would be here without this person. And just to review, whose job description, in short, included pretty much staying on her feet for 3 to 4 years without sleep, to basically give up all of her hopes, aspirations, and dreams, to become our full-time chef, custodian, therapist, poop and snot wiper-upper. Anything else I'm leaving out? There's a lot, I know. Diaper changer? Yeah. Not to mention, I'm sure you know what the salary was. So, to the moms who are here, to the moms that are elsewhere, to the moms that are elsewhere, and to the moms that have already passed beyond. I hope I'm not presumptuous in saying truly on behalf of all of us, or hopefully singing on behalf and with all of us, that we never wanted to cause you any sorrow. We never meant to cause you any pain. Only wanted to hear you one time laughing. Only wanted to hear you laughing in the purple rain, purple rain. How about again? Purple rain, purple rain. For all the mothers, purple rain, only wanted to see you laughing in the purple rain. Ah! I'm gonna stop right there. So happy Mother's Day, truly, yay. I would keep going, but the next verse is something about not wanting to be your weekend lover, and I'm hoping that's already clearly understood. So it's my great pleasure to invite forward Lori Rugenstein, a faculty member in the Graduate School of Psychology. and musician extraordinaire to offer our invocation.
This definitely needs to. I also want to welcome all of you, especially those of you who are about to graduate, your families, your friends, the faculty, staff, and trustees, everybody who's here for this celebration today. And I'm going to offer some music to invite in blessings and guidance for the ceremony and the time after this. With my flute. Right in tune with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. This year also, I understand, holds another unique significance in that it marks our university's namesake, the wise abbot of Nalanda University in ancient India, Naropa's 1000th birthday, which is kind of cool. Speaking of which, it is my pleasure to introduce Naropa's president. No. Speaking of which, in terms of that he's like our abbot. Not that he's 1,000 years old, quite yet. Charles Leaf was elected as Naropa's 7th president in 2012, but has been intimately involved in Naropa's inception and flourishing for over 40 years. And he is going to lead us in this gesture or ritual by which we open all auspicious activities, the opening bow. So it is my pleasure and honor to invite the very young and exceptionally spry Charles Leaf.
So please join me, I'll ring the gong and we can bow together. I was at a graduation here once where somebody said for the final time, which seemed really depressing, and that makes no sense. So this will be another opportunity for a bow together. So I'm really happy to be here, looking around in this space and I'm seeing people with the sashes and dressed in flowers and sequins and all these things, and I now understand why we were only number 2 on the list of the top 10 hippie schools in the country. So I'm thinking it's something we have to do about that for next year. But for now, it looks really good, actually, out here. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's good. I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, the Naropa faculty, our staff, and all of our students. Especially welcome the family, friends, partners, and supporters of all our graduates to this celebration of your accomplishment and of your commitment. I want to especially welcome Brenda Salgado, who I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment, whose activities in the world and her time on the cushion exemplifies Naropa's aspiration to support the students' passion to live a life of compassion and wisdom. As I've said occasionally, I didn't plan to be a college president ever, and entered that role some years ago looking around to take signals from the way other presidents of liberal arts colleges spent their day. And I quickly learned that what I was supposed to do was spend a lot of my time worrying about the future of higher education. So I was supposed to look worried, I was supposed to act worried, I was supposed to go to conferences and share my worry with other presidents who also played golf while they were worrying. I never quite did that. So I was supposed to do all those things, and I was told that if I failed to act appropriately as an angst-ridden president, then I was supposed to worry about my own future, since it couldn't be a future, as we say in the business, in the academy. That never has quite worked for me, unfortunately, so I stopped going to the conferences, which is great. I've never really been good at golf anyway. And I decided that maybe I would have to find my worrying journey in some new way. Now, I imagine that for many of you here, you would agree that if you want to feast on worry, Naropa offers one of the largest menus around. So we're not lacking for the raw material. But at the same time, it's really hard not to feel joyful and optimistic being at this place. Joyful about the sheer audacity of a Tibetan monk who, walking across the Himalayas in search of political liberation in 1959, founded a university in less than 15 years later, and more than founding a university, created this entirely fresh approach to learning, where contemplative practice and mindfulness techniques infuse and are powerfully impacting education, healthcare, business, the arts, and so much more. One thing I knew from Trungpa Rinpoche and my connection with him is that he did not spend a lot of time worrying. He trusted his inspiration and he trusted his intention to serve. And moreover, he trusted the people who joined in. And that's really the real joy of being at Naropa, having people who have joined in, students, staff, faculty, all of us together. Worrying is no doubt going to hang around us, but if we touch our founding vision and if we aspire to be open and generous and passionate the way that our students and faculty, staff, and supporters around the world are, I think that is an effective antidote to this particular concern about worrying. Tonight I'm going to take a red eye to New York so that I can appear tomorrow at yet another mindful business conference, something that, I mean, it's remarkable that the world can handle yet another mindful business conference. And I'm going to have an opportunity when I'm there to hobnob with mindfulness experts from Google, from Aetna, from ABC News, from the US Congress. All the cool kids who are doing mindfulness are going to be at this meeting. And me. But what I do know is I will be able to confidently draw a line from the moment a monk emerged from the Indian jungle to the bringing of mindfulness to the boardroom or mindfulness to the classroom. I'm equally confident that Naropa, not Naropa the institution, but the amazing work that takes place in this institution and has for the last 42 years, was the place that created the condition for this extraordinary moment that we're experiencing around the world, where mindfulness and contemplative practice is seen as ordinary in many cases, as helpful in many cases, as just part of the DNA of so much of the work that's done in the world. I can say I can say with great confidence, when Naropa's first summer started in 1974, if we need to find a birthplace of that movement in the world, that birthplace was the parking lot of Alfalfa's. It's actually where it was. My job tomorrow at this conference is to tell a creation story and to offer ways in which the beneficiaries, frankly, of all of your hard work can actually give back. They can hire you. They can support your nonprofit, they can support your social enterprise, they can buy tickets to your performances, they can take the classes that you're going to teach, they can see you in your counseling offices or clinic, and they can invite your skillful support as they or a loved one journeys out of this life. They can invite you into all aspects of what they do in life, and that really is the message that's the most joyful for me to be able to give. And I'll obviously invite them to support future generations of Naropa students through the very conventional generosity. I'm going to offer this invitation with the confidence that Naropa graduates are truly educated, accomplished scholars and artists, compassionate and empathetic human beings, and most able to care for and repair a world that is in much need. I can tell them that Naropa graduates share in a community inside the university and will, without question, create loving communities built on caring, on justice, and on equity outside of the walls of this place. Yes. I can also tell them that transform yourself, transform the world is not just a slogan, but is a fearless proclamation of your journey and your accomplishments, and it's one that each of us, especially our faculty, are proud to proclaim to all of you. My colleagues and I are very grateful to the families and to the friends of our graduates who have supported your adventure at Naropa in so many ways. I know that you, the graduates, don't take that for granted, and certainly we don't as well. I'll conclude with a longer version of the short poem that I've concluded with in the last few years, written by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche in 1977. I want to offer it to all of the graduates, to you from all of us who are assembled here. And because it was written by Trungpa Rinpoche, there are two words I'm going to give you definitions for so I can then read the poem. Many of you know these definitions. One is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means awakened heart. And the other is vajra, and vajra means diamond-like. And religious studies graduates, we can debate the definitions later, but for the moment, walk with me here. So, in 4 short verses, Trungpa Rinpoche said, "In the jungles of flaming ego, may there be cool iceberg of bodhicitta. On the racetrack of bureaucracy, may there be the walk of the elephant. May the sumptuous castle of arrogance be destroyed by Vajra confidence. In the garden of gentle sanity, may you be bombarded by coconuts of wakefulness." So congratulations to all of you. We're delighted that you're here. Thank you. And so now it's my great pleasure to introduce Naropa's 2016 commencement speaker, Brenda Salgado. Brenda was most recently the director of the East Bay Meditation Center in Oakland, California, which is a national model of a Buddhist community based on the values of diversity, inclusivity, community leadership, social action, and gift economics. Her current work focuses on co-creative and transformative strategies for building communities and economies based in sacred, regenerative relationship. Brenda has over 15 years of experience in nonprofit leadership and management, facilitation, strategy, and consulting, and has worked in the areas of environmental health and justice, women's health, and health equity. Throughout her career, she has served organizations such as Movement Strategy Center, Breast Cancer Action, and Literacy for Environmental Justice. Brenda is a first-generation Nicaraguan American, born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's grateful to her mentors, her parents, and ancestors for instilling the cultural and spiritual values that have led her to spiritual, social justice, and nonprofit work. She's committed to the role of mindfulness practice, transformative leadership, culture, ceremony, and community wisdom in creating a society filled with wholeness and beauty. So please join me in welcoming Brenda Salgado to the podium.
Warm greetings. The Nahual song that I just sang for you is a sacred song of the peoples of Central America that honors the Venerable Mother Earth, giving her thanks, acknowledging that she lives within each of our hearts, no matter what our gender is, and that she is the giver of all life, appropriate on a day such as this, Mother's Day. With these words, I honor the land that we are on here today, the original ancestors of this land, the Southern Arapaho, and the many mothers who gave us life. I am grateful to be in community with you on this very special and very auspicious day. Beloved ones, my ancestors, send deep thanks to each one of you. There are many places that you could have studied, yet your spirit and your heart led you here to an education that tended to mind, body, and spirit, not just mind. The ancestors have asked me to share a blessing for children now and for future 7 generations, given to me by one of my elders, Jerry Teo. They say it is for you as well. I will ask you to say it aloud with me. I am loved. I am a blessing. I am sacred just the way I am. I have dignity. I have wisdom and gifts for the whole. Now I will ask you to speak these words aloud as you look at those around you. You are loved. You are a blessing. You are sacred just the way you are. You have dignity. You have wisdom and gifts for the whole. I love how you just raised the vibration in the room. The ancestors say that it is a very great blessing to be born at this time and also a great responsibility. It is the prophecy of many indigenous peoples of Turtle Island that we are in a time of great opportunity to make a leap in human consciousness. But it is not just an opportunity for us as individuals. It is also a tremendous responsibility for the children now in the world and for the children of the next generations yet to come. And it is our responsibility to make sure that we do so. The moment that you are in is one that requires great courage and great and deep practice. Each one of you is needed to play a part in the mending of the sacred hoop of humanity, in reimagining a new world. You must become the gardeners of the new world, composting our old ways of doing things in order to plant and grow something grander and far more beautiful than we've ever seen together. If we do so, the ancestors say we will be unstoppable. Aho, aho, I heard an aho out there. One prophecy of many of the indigenous peoples of the Americas is the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. Can I get a raise of hands if anyone's heard of the prophecy of the eagle and condor? All right, it's more hands than I usually see. So, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor talked about human society splitting into two paths. The path of the condor is the path of the heart, of intuition, and of the feminine. The path of the eagle is the path of the mind, of industry, and of the masculine. It was prophesied many, many years ago by indigenous peoples that at the time of the 1490s, we would begin a 500-year period that would become gravely out of balance, where the killing and oppression of indigenous peoples would occur. And during that time, that the eagle peoples would come to dominate the earth and virtually close to the brink of extinction bring the condor people, the people of the heart. And then it was prophesied during the next 500-year period, beginning in 1990, that a possibility would arise for the eagle and condor to fly together once again, to come into balance in the same sky, and to create a new level of consciousness for humanity. The prophecy speaks only of our potential, so it's up to us to activate that potential. Back in the 1990s, when this 500-year period of possibility for transformation began, elders, indigenous elders from all North and South America gathered in South America and talked about their many prophecies. Native Americans, Central Americans, South Americans all had different prophecies that spoke of this time. And the elder said that the indigenous peoples would need to start running as a prayer for the healing of all humanity, which we began in 1992. Every 4 years, indigenous people run. The path of the eagle begins in Alaska and runs south, and the path of the condor starts at Tierra del Fuego in Argentina and runs north. It takes over 6 months to traverse those running prayers all across the continent. And the people carry ceremony as they stop at the different tribes. They carry staffs that carry the prayers and blessings for that tribe's people and their future generations, and carry prayers for the healing of humanity. And that has been happening every 4 years since 1992. They began running May 1st out of Alaska, not long ago, and May 5th out of South America. So they're already on their way, and we'll meet in November in Panama. So I tell you this because we've been praying for all of our healing for a long time, and a lot of folks don't know that. The elders say that we're in the process of remembering right now. To dismember something means to take a body apart in pieces. So to remember is both to recall what we once knew, but it's also to remember about bringing those pieces back into wholeness. There is a quote, "Change is inevitable, growth is intentional. We must choose to grow together in the times ahead. You must make space for the openness, the cultural humility, and the deepened relationships that it will take to remember our wholeness as a humanity." In this, your education and practice at Naropa will serve you very well. An institution of learning that is seeking to remember the mind and the heart must serve together. It is important that you chose your education here in these times that we're in. The ancestors are asking you to help build a new world, a world where everyone is proud of where they come from and honored for where they come from, proud of their ancestors' medicine, a world where everyone is invited to share their wisdom and gifts with the whole. I want to share with you about my grandmother, Maria Alvarez Guevara, who I'm carrying in my pocket. She passed when I was a young girl. She taught our family so much about love and family, healing, and the power of the earth to help us restore wholeness to ourselves and to our communities. She gave us many lessons that vibrate energetically within our family even today. Some of those lessons were lost, and we're reclaiming them with her guidance. One thing she did teach us, my mother in particular, and our family, was the importance of coming from the story of we and not from the story of me, which is very prevalent in this country. And that as beings, we belong to Mother Earth and to one another. This sense of interconnectedness gives me great hope for our future. My grandmother's spirit has led me to step on the lineage of medicine women and to many wonderful teachers and elders. And I want to share some of what others have been kind enough to teach me and share with me, knowing that all of this wisdom is not meant to be patented or owned, but to be shared with much love and much responsibility. It belongs to all past, present, and future generations. One lesson is that our relationship with nature is one of family and of a teacher. When I began the medicine path, I had the pleasure of training with many teachers and grandmothers and grandfathers in Mexico, and they would not teach you the plant medicine until you understood first the way of relating to the plants and to nature with a lot of humility and grace. There was an elder who taught us about the white sage plant and said he had relationships with some of these plants 20 or 30 years. He went one day, and a particular sage plant he had known for many years had been completely harvested and killed. And he was very brokenhearted. And he broke down in tears in front of us that day. He said, "What I need you to understand is that I did not lose a plant I harvest from. I lost a teacher and an elder and a friend that was murdered." And it's that level of relationship, he said, you must have to the earth and all the creatures on it if you're to practice medicine here. Those elders taught me that nature is not a commodity owned by us. We belong to nature, and we must remember that in our path. The second is that Mother Earth is powerful, loving, and ready to compost all that we are ready to release. I had the honor of attending a people of color retreat at Deer Park Monastery in the Thich Nhat Hanh lineage in Southern California many years ago. And they did this beautiful ceremony called the 5 Touchings of the Earth. And in particular, it was one adapted for the different racial lineages here in the United States, where we acknowledge the contributions, oppressions, and sufferings of each of those lineages and the important people in those lineages, and offer the suffering of each of those lineages to the earth for composting, which is necessary for planting a new world together in a sacred hoop together. And I know that sometimes in spiritual communities I've been part of, there has been some spiritual bypass, wanting to reach oneness without first releasing that which has taken us from oneness and to begin with, because it's uncomfortable. Spiritual courage is required to go to these places so that we can transform our relationship and story together and to release the things that we need to release. The third is that darkness is a beautiful gift, one that we must embrace to be whole again. We have been taught to fear the dark, to control and dominate nature. We've been taught fear of darkness as a foundation for misogyny, violence towards women, slavery, theft of land from indigenous peoples, many isms that still have their imprints and reverberations in today's society. And we also were taught by many folks that forest and nature can be dangerous and wild. Yet the dark places are places of reverence and rebirth and connection to one another. Caves, wombs, and the soil are great examples of this. A seed cannot grow without the darkness of the soil, the rest in the soil, the pause. So reverence and pauses in our lives are needed to connect with the rich and dark soil so that we can grow. If we, lastly, as a human race, are to survive, we must change our stories and ways of being. We are not supposed to do it alone. There are many beings who are ready and willing to assist us when we are humble enough to ask. And to move from a story of scarcity to one of abundance, we'll find that there is more than enough when we're in relationship. And just know that is the time of the myth of pathological hyper-individualism to be over and to be composted in order for us to return to wholeness. The ancestors ask that you seek their support because they're ready and willing to guide us and protect us on this journey. Also to seek support from healers, from plants, and from others in your community. I want to honor my grandmother Maria for this path that's unfolding in front of me, calling me to Nicaragua for the Peace and Dignity Journeys again this year. And her guidance about focusing on the traditional medicine that's needed in this time. And for shepherding the composting of our old stories and birthing the new ones together. Most importantly, she's calling me in these times to support others in reclaiming our relationship to land and to one another, to see land stewarded and used for spiritual and community healing for all and not for personal gain. Like you, I am still unfolding, still learning, and most of all, still surrendering to what wants to be born and what is emergent through me in these times. May you do the same. It will bring me and ancestors great joy to see you surrender in this way. I want to close with a message attributed to a Hopi elder because I think it's very relevant for these times. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. You must go back and tell people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? Where are your relationships? Are you in right relationship? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to one another. And do not look outside of yourselves for the leader. Then he clasped his hands together and smiled and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing very, very fast now. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel as they are being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, and keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say to you, see who is in there with you in the river and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey will come to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. Yesterday, I threw this in last minute because I had lunch with Galen Ferguson, and I was very grateful. Thank you, Galen. And I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a lot of thunder and rain. That's when we were at lunch. I was very joyful. I saw a lot of people kind of get nervous, jumping up, trying to run out of the restaurant, very scared. And for Indigenous people, we don't get scared when it rains. It's a blessing. And it was fun because Galen spoke about the Yoruba god Shango, of thunder and lightning and justice. I said, this is not an accident, the thunder and the rain before my speech. And it reminded me of Chak, the Mayan god, who with his lightning axe strikes the clouds and produces thunder and rain, cleansing the earth and making new life possible. This way is being cleared for us, and that's what the omen of yesterday was. You are being called in these times to be heart-based Imagineers. Whichever field you have chosen, Chuck mentioned many of them, imagine it grounded in a love-based, regenerative, compassionate foundation that honors all life and helps to bring balance to our relationships one another and to the earth. Know that there are many others doing the same at the time, alongside you, imagineering a new world. So consider the time ahead of you an imaginative and co-creative playground as you step out of Naropa into the world. May you remember that you are loved, that you are a blessing, that you are sacred just the way you are. May you remember that about everyone around you, even when you struggle with them. May these words guide you on the next steps of your beautiful journey of service in the world. May it be so. Aho.
Thank you, Brenda. The late theologian Prince once said, "Don't hate me because I'm fabulous," which certainly applies to our faculty speaker. She is the dean of the chair of the Department of Contemplative Education, and we are delighted she was selected by her colleagues to address the graduates. Please welcome the most fabulous Barb Katpagan.
Good afternoon. And let me extend my happy Mother's Day to all you wonderful mothers out there, whether you are adoptive mothers or biological mothers or stepmothers or grandmothers or women who have been adopted as mothers. Happy Mother's Day. And happy graduation day. I'm so honored to be the faculty speaker today, and I'm going to tell you a little story. So not long ago, I visited Lake Tahoe. It was a trip that had been delayed due to the passing of my own mother, and so I had this ticket that I needed to use or lose. It seemed like the timing really wasn't ideal, but I was in need of a little bit of renewal, having spent the previous 8 months working feverishly with my incredible colleagues in contemplative education on the application and the new courses to launch Naropa's new teacher licensure program in the fall. Yeah. So this trip that I missed for an incredibly sad reason turned into perfect timing. So with my partner on my arm, we went to give our eyes a new view. Exploring the area, I was dismayed at the obvious colonialism that surrounds the history and engaged with a few people about that. But it was, however, the lake itself that captivated me. The lake, 22 miles long, like from here to Golden, 12 miles wide, reflecting the sky. Every time I looked at it, it took my breath away. But the lake is the result of this cataclysmic action 2 to 3 million years ago. So as the earth went through this incredible, vast upheaval, the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains were born. And on the other side, the Carson Range. So the buckling of the earth left the area between these two amazing mountain ranges as the basin of the lake. Well, as if that wasn't enough, the Ice Age came 1 million years ago and did more sculpting. It sculpted the landscape through glaciers. Rain, snow, about 65 different streams filled that pristine natural monument to patience. Today, it's still rain and streams and snow that fill it. But the lake itself reminds me that there's beauty in cataclysm if we can hold our seat and feed the change through positive action. So, for example, last spring, tents went up on the Naropa Green, a movement of protest. Do you remember? Yeah? The Decolonized Commons, it was named. So some thought it would be this cataclysmic situation. Well, certainly there was upheaval. Rain fell for days. Ice formed around some people's hearts. You students who lived in the tents were determined, strong-hearted, passionate. Everything we need for change, right? The movement drew many in. Some willingly, some, not so much. Well, a few weeks after a lot of argumentative dialogue, general assemblies, silence, and soul searching, people took a breath take a breath. Whew. Right? So maybe, just maybe, at that point, the confusion of not knowing, the discomfort of self-awareness, the talk about privilege and social justice was starting to feel normal. Eventually, the sun came out, it drove away the rain, melted the ice. A lake was forming to once again baptize us in the dharma of cultural responsiveness and social justice. So according to the author Sonia Nieto, one thing that cultural responsiveness means is asking profoundly multicultural questions. So profoundly multicultural questions. They require that we take into account the conditions for everyone. For example, you could ask, what's the curriculum on the walls in my institution? What does this question call us to ask? It calls on us to consider the environment for everyone who uses the buildings. Who's being represented? Who is not? How are we holding the totality of the community? Whose world is being represented? Now, it may be true that these seem like simple questions, but what I think is profound is that someone thinks to ask them and then expects an answer. Right? The students of the Commons asked profoundly multicultural questions of all of us and of themselves. In this way, the cataclysm happened from the inside out. In this way, they were warriors, fearless. I mean, we are in Europa. This action, this upheaval, changed some things that happened in Europa. Not as much as some want, more than others can keep up with. We've been asked to check ourselves, to open ourselves, to walk our talk. We've had to consider what the word compassion means. Again, it's not like we haven't ever considered that, right? I think we learned that in order to provide what's necessary for each of us to grow and learn to our fullest potential, we have to be awake to the diversity of circumstances of people's lives. We must explore our own assumptions and where they have arisen from. We must consider how our assumptions affect our conceptualization of the world. We must stop believing that our assumptions are the truth. This is hard, made easier with an open heart. And you wonderful graduates, you have the tools. You have the skills to move forward with an open heart, to approach this work of creating and asking profound and profoundly multicultural questions. These tools have been offered to you in classrooms throughout the university, through workshops from the Office of Inclusion and Diversity. Thank you, Regina. We know that the skills deepen when we do whatever contemplative practice we have that calls us to examine our inner landscape. We certainly don't have the longevity of a Lake Tahoe. Our lives, by comparison, are a mere nanosecond. So it's no wonder we feel impatient for change. But you, my dear graduates, have been practicing for years now. Some of you 2, some of you 3, some of you 4, some of you 40, right? You've been practicing how to take multicultural questions out into the world and meet what will no doubt be the crazy-eyed reception of them. And stand there with a presence that says, yes! That's what I ask of you. Then calmly, or maybe not so much, help to create the change. Never doubt that the world needs you. Your optimism, your good thinking, your compassion. Never doubt that the world needs you. I wish you all good things in your change making. So, did you transform yourself? Yeah? They're waiting for you to come out and transform the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. For this year's musical interlude, we have 2 Naropa students performing a piece entitled At Last. Please welcome Hiroko Hirata, a Master of Divinity student, and Aaron Bartlett, a BA in Music student.
Now I see you. Let me see where everybody is. Ready? Let's do this, Aaron. At last, my has come along. My lonely days are over, and life is like a song. At last, the skies above, they're blue. was wrapped in clover. The night I looked at you, I found a dream that I could speak to, dream that I could call my own. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, thrill that I'll never know. You smile, oh then the spell was cast. Here we are in heaven, for you are mine at last, for you are mine, for you are
I should have had Hiroko do Purple Rain instead of me, a true mistake. I was overcome spontaneously with an overwhelming sense of my own death a few weeks ago and realized I was still quite unnerved by the whole thing. And then was surprised to learn that research shows, at least in the United States, that people far more than fear of death fear public speaking, causing Seinfeld to ponder who has it worse at a funeral, the person in the casket or the person giving the eulogy. So it is with true admiration that I invite our student speakers up to share with us today. Representing the students receiving their bachelor's degrees this year is Emma Arbor. Emma is fiercely passionate about combating racial and socioeconomic inequalities in the legal system and will be attending Emory University School of Law next year to work in public defense. She currently teaches a class on mental health and nutrition at the Boulder County Jail and is very enthusiastic about tattoos and hedgehogs.
I crinkled my speech up a lot, so I'm like uncrinkling it right now. Hi. I want to thank all you guys for coming to graduation to celebrate with us. I applied to Naropa December of 2012, and about this time 3 years ago, I received my rejection letter from Naropa. I'd been kind of drifting around Portland for a while, and after this letter, I just wallowed and moped. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do with my life from there. After about a month of this, I got over myself, and I decided that I was going to go to Naropa in the fall. I acquired new letters of rec, received good grades my final semester at Reed College, rewrote my application essay, and reapplied for the same admissions cycle. In the fall of 2013, I finally began at Naropa. I never believed any grown-ups who said that my aspirations may change while I was in college, but lo and behold, once I got here, my aspirations changed. Instead of pursuing psychology to be a therapist in prisons, I am now attending law school to be a public defender keeping people out of prisons. You guys are so supportive. I'm graduating with a degree in contemplative psychology with minors in creative writing and peace studies. And I've taken the one law class that Naropa offers. So you can imagine the challenge I felt when applying from here to law school. When I was writing my admissions essay, I tried to focus on the ways that my Naropa education gave me a really unique edge in any further academic endeavors. The primary Naropa plug that I incorporated was the power and significance of being 23 and having gone through at least one midlife crisis. I'm not talking about the stereotypical college student existential crisis that occurs when you're stoned in your bedrooms. The past 3 years, it has felt like Naropa has been spring cleaning my person. Oh, you have some dust bunny shadows tucked away there in that box you've locked? I'm just gonna open it, give the contents a little sunlight, and now you get to address the psychological mess that has accumulated over your entire lifetime. It sounds really fun. Let me elaborate on the active role that I have cast Naropa in here. I have never thought of Naropa as a school. It has always been like a living organism to me. When I'm annoyed at Naropa, it feels like one of my friends has an affinity for breaking printers, not responding to my very important calls. Yeah, you know the struggle, the printers. Or pushing me just a little bit too far over my edge and out of my cocoon. It's this magical breathing creature that is sometimes so incredibly aggravating that I wonder why we're even friends. And then I remember the magic. How the only reason I'm attending Emory next year is because I mentioned in a class introduction my aspirations to be a public defender. And one of my classmates came up to me after, telling me I should connect with her friend at Emory who's also going into public defense. I didn't even know where Emory was before this conversation. Now, what seemed like just a crazy synchronicity, I'm not just attending Emory next year, I'm also rooming with the friend of the girl who told me about the school. Every semester, I hear my classmates discuss this insane synchronicity. I hear comments like, it's like all my classes are coordinated. All my final projects seem to be on the same thing. When writing my application to law school explaining the significance of a Naropa education, I mentioned the artful division of each of my semesters into themes. My first semester was about opening. During my first Warrior exam, I was asked a question about compassion, and I figured, I can speak about compassion for 3 minutes. I don't really need to prepare for this. During the exam, the questioner asked me, where have you never shown compassion in your life? In that moment, I realized for the very first time that I had never had compassion for my little sister. And then I broke down crying in front of an entire class of students that I barely knew. Yep. I'm going to skip forward to my next year because I don't have time to get into every awesome theme, and I just want to give you guys my favorites. My third semester at Naropa, I engaged in a transpersonal practice where I recorded myself essentially rambling so that I could try and play therapist for my recordings. Like so many of you, I come from a past of deep pain and depression. But through this recording process, I actually cultivated a deep love for myself. And during one tearful recording, I recognized aloud this self-love for the very first time. And then I played it for my transpersonal class. My third semester was about accepting the person I had discovered the previous year. I'm going to skip again to my fifth semester, where I took a course called Embodying Process. And in the very first class, we had to dance freely to music, which was terrifying. So terrifying, actually, that in my senior seminar class that same semester, when I was asked to authentically present myself for 30 minutes, naturally, I chose improvised movement and dance as my medium. That semester was about being in my body. These experiences materialized because of the power of Naropa to challenge its students to discover and know themselves. This is what I presented as the unique value of my Naropa education in a left brain field. I know myself, and I absolutely love who I am. Naropa has helped me build a stable foundation of self that allows me to tackle any challenge from the strong and compassionate place of the Shambhala warrior. In my application to Emory, I wrote about how Naropa students are some of the most passionate individuals that I have ever met. When we hear, "You can't change the system," we recognize the lack of evidence in this claim. I explained to the admissions committee that I am not just some individual curious about racial injustice in the legal field. I am an individual who will be instrumental to changing the entire system. I know that I am committed to goals that seem idealistic, and I am going to accomplish them. Nearly every Naropa student I have met has a structurally violent system that they are going to change. I want to recognize and honor all of you guys who've been so instrumental in changing Naropa through your courage to be yourselves. I also want to offer my gratitude to all of you who've been involved in changing the world outside of Naropa through teaching and acting in the Shambhala warrior spirit. As we graduate today and move off in so many different directions, I wish us all perseverance and strength in our quests. At times, our deep compassion and passion will cause us to struggle in a culture that is so often disengaged. Our calling as Naropa students is to go forth with resilience as warriors, to never give up on anything or anyone. Thank you.
Sheila Klein grew up in Michigan. Shyla. They just asked me to be MC yesterday. I'm sorry. Shyla Klein, sorry. Grew up in Michigan, where she graduated as valedictorian from Andover High School in 2004. Shyla completed her undergraduate degrees in dance and psychology at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. She then pursued a career as a professional dance artist and community educator in New York City for several years. Shyla moved to Boulder in 2012 to pursue her education as a somatic counselor at Naropa University. Currently, she sees clients at Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence, teaches dance to middle school and high school students, and works as a performing artist in the greater Denver area. Shyla Klein.
Good afternoon, and thank you for saying my name correctly. Doesn't happen that often. Wow. All right. So I would like to begin with a hearty but prudent congratulations to the 2016 graduates. I'm going to start with an assumption, actually, that today marks some sort of transition, maybe a big one. I'm guessing, too, that your journey has been some sort of process, and while I'm not going to make any assumptions about what that process has been for you, I trust, and yes, I also assume, that it has left some sort of impact. In my experience, graduations can be tricky territory. There's a mold, and that mold outlines how I should be feeling, who should be here with me, what I should be wearing, what I should talk about right now. This mold is rooted in ideological, institutional, and cultural systems of privilege and power. The pomp and circumstance of a graduation ceremony implicitly requires that I'm celebrating, regardless of what my actual experience might be, and that I get to participate at all is a direct result of my privilege. As a white, cisgender, gay woman who's temporarily able-bodied, English-speaking, holds size privilege, and was born in this country, and is about to hold a master's degree, my participation in this ceremony is welcome. To be frank, I'm thrilled to engage in this capacity. Thank you. At the same time, I realize that this body that I live in is a highly privileged one in this society and in this institution. That my voice, the voice of a white woman with multiple privileged identities, was chosen to speak on behalf of the graduate student body is one way my privilege is just right here. So today, I'm not going to speak for anyone. I can't do that, and I won't. What I can do, though, and what I will do, is speak from my own experience, from what I have seen, felt, and lived in this body, from a place of acknowledging what has been done for me, what has been done to me, what I have done, and how all of these things interact and relate with my various identities. In order to be here in integrity, I have to own and understand the way my privilege has opened doors for me and at the same time closed doors for others. I have to question who gets to participate in this ceremony. Yeah, take a look around. Who gets to participate? And at the same time, I question whose experiences have been excluded. And then finally, how does my presence here in this role not only reflect but also perpetuate these same norms, both in this institution and also beyond? So yes, today I am going to talk about privilege, educational privilege, to be specific. To the 2016 graduating class, as we transition across the stage today, we are both literally and figuratively moving into a new level of educational privilege. Now, I don't bring this up to dampen a celebratory mood, nor to invite shame or conflict into the room, but rather to acknowledge a system of power that's constantly running and actually inevitable to encounter. Privilege is already here. It's alive and well in and out of this auditorium. So let's talk about it. How privilege is utilized determines its value and its impact, right? So in my privileged locations, I experience a wide variety of choice, a larger movement repertoire, and actually opportunities to breathe and be creative in exploring change, transformation, and transition. In my privileged locations, I have the choice to be silent and freeze, to feel and to move, and to interrupt and fight oppression. With this choice comes responsibility. And I invite each of us graduating today to actually lean into and work with the responsibility that comes with the privilege of holding a university degree. Dr. Carla Sherrill, an expert who in my experience consistently does this work with tenacity, heart, and integrity, reminds me that my privilege tells me I should be comfortable, and that if I'm not comfortable, I might not be safe. You know what? That's a setup. The truth is, on an ideological and an institutional level, in my privilege, I am always safe, and it's my responsibility to differentiate safety from comfort. Graduates, our experience with mindfulness and contemplative practice has given us the tools to work with this discomfort. Interrupting and fighting oppression might be uncomfortable, but where we hold privilege, it's rarely unsafe. It's time to use the tools we have learned, both in and out of this institution, to engage our privilege with integrity. Let us be steady, courageous, and relentless in resisting and fighting oppression. May we trust that every micro-movement towards justice is just that, a micro-movement, but also understand that if we turn away from this work, or if we refuse to engage, we inherently and actively contribute towards oppression. If we pretend our privilege does not exist, we will without a doubt do harm. So now that question arises, right? What does that look like? The short answer is there's no one-size-fits-all. As we are at a graduation ceremony, zooming in on educational privilege seems appropriate. This, however, does not negate the various locations and sociocultural identities that are present in the room, and also the way those locations impact us, right? So how I utilize my privilege, how I take action towards social justice, might look different from how you do. These differences aren't wrong. They reflect our experiences with institutional privilege and marginalization, and also our culture, family system, personality, and biology. This call is not a call for a universal approach to advocacy, but rather it's an invitation to honestly look at how educational privilege shows up in our thoughts, our bodies, and our actions, both consciously and unconsciously, and make a choice to transform frozenness, fear, or shame into action, responsibility, and advocacy. How? It's up to you. But I will offer 4 suggestions, originally from Singleton and Linton, that I learned from Dr. Carla Sherrill. 1, stay engaged. 2, speak your truth. 3, experience discomfort. And 4, accept and expect non-closure. So yes, I do offer congratulations. And I also extend an invitation to mark this transition in whatever way feels accessible, appropriate, and congruent for you. If you are excited and joyful, welcome. If you are grieving, welcome. If you are terrified or anxious, welcome. Bored? Hungry? Hot? Uncomfortable? You know what? You're also welcome. And if you have no idea, or if all of those above are yes, also welcome. Thank you so much. Cheers.
I am now delighted to present this year's graduate and undergraduate awards, faculty. This year's Student Government and Inkpen Awards. I would ask that the recipients of these awards briefly stand when the awards are announced. Each year, the Student Union of Naropa, or SUN, accepts nominations for the Most Engaged Graduating Student Award in both graduate and undergraduate education. This year, SUN received 27 nominations. For the Most Engaged Graduate Student Award, SUN was unable to choose a single award recipient, given the many contributions of 2 graduate students in particular, and SUN felt it appropriate to honor both. The first recipient has abundantly shared her gifts, time, and love. She has served as an officer in SUN, as a student group leader for the International Student Group, as a graduate assistant for the Counseling Center, and as co-creator of wellness programming with the Office of Student Life. She has also challenged systems of oppression at Naropa, and as one nominator stated, continues to strive to make Naropa a better, more inclusive institution and community. Congratulations to Nora Ahmed Kamal. The second recipient of the Graduate Student Award has changed the fabric of Naropa for the better. This student also served on SUN in different positions and created the Diversity and Inclusivity Liaison Officer position, which she was later voted into, co-led the International Student Group, and co-created the Something Asian Student Group. One nominator stated that this student's courage and bravery has inspired many, always raising awareness around difference and offering different perspectives. Congratulations to Reina Fujita Maus. And company. This year's most engaged undergraduate student embodies Naropa's mission to transform yourself and transform the world. This student has shared her gifts as a residential assistant in Snow Lion, as an ambassador to prospective students, as a member of various student organizations, and as a student group leader and director for the Vagina Monologues. Through the monologues, this student created partnerships with community organizations such as MESA and SPAN, while bringing awareness to violence against the oppression of women. While advancing social justice work, she continues to work with their own edge regarding privilege and oppression. Congratulations, Liv Tulos Siska. And now for the Faculty of Excellence Award, which are given to faculty who are open to challenging debate and academic discourse, comfortable with silence, able to hold space, engage with a variety of students, create a shared learning experience, and employ multiple modalities to connect with students. SUN received a large number of nominations and decided on one undergraduate and one graduate faculty member. This year's Undergraduate Faculty of Excellence awardee was selected because of his willingness to have the tough conversations. One nominator stated that this faculty invites students to challenge mainstream lines of thinking and unquestioned assumptions. He cares about each and every one of his students. This year's Undergraduate Faculty of Excellence is given to Ramon Parrish. This year's Graduate Faculty of Excellence awardee was selected because of her ability to advocate for students, particularly those who occupy marginalized positions. One nominator stated that this faculty member always demonstrated her ability to hold multiple truths, own her own fallible nature, and demonstrate how repair from hurt may occur. This year's recipient will be stepping down from her position, and we can think of no better way to celebrate and honor her. This year's recipient is Deb Bopsy. And finally, on to the Priscilla Inkpin Award, which honors our beloved Associate Dean in Student Affairs who passed away in 2009. Priscilla was an inspiring activist with a vision of change and commitment to social justice, sustained by her open-hearted and open-minded approach. Naropa presents this award annually at commencement to a graduating student who is inspired by a similar vision and strives to bring that vision into compassionate action in service of a more just world. This year's Priscilla Inkpin Award recipient has served as an ambassador to prospective students, worked in the Snow Lion Residency Hall, led student groups dedicated to veteran support and contemplative partner dancing. He did pirouette me 7 times in the air the other day. I've never had that experience before. Facilitated sessions at Contemplative Practice Day and created campus-wide Veterans Day events that brought community partners together, students, alumni, faculty and staff, and other constituents. This student's dedication to contemplative practice provides a solid foundation to sharing his passions and supporting our community through effective action. Please congratulate Dennis Kerr. And now, for the main event, let's get ready to rumble. President Leaf, would you please do the honors?
If I could ask the master's degree candidates to please stand. And I'm pleased to welcome Provost Janet Kramer to join me. There we are.
Mr. President, the individuals now presented to you have completed all of the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Divinity, or Master of Fine Arts. At the request of the faculty of Naropa University and on their behalf, I present them to you for the awarding of those degrees.
Upon successful completion of degree requirements by the authority vested in me, I confer on you the degree of Master of Arts, Master of Divinity, or Master of Fine Arts, I guess you get to pick, with all of the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations, please be seated. We will celebrate in a minute.
I would now like to invite Dr. Elaine Ewan, Chair of the Department of Wisdom Traditions, to announce the names of the master's students.
The degree of Master of Arts in Environmental Leadership, Melissa Irene Aguirre. Haley Renee Hawkins. Audrey Lynn Jackson. Hannah Jane Tyrell Wysocki. Psychology, Contemplative Psychotherapy, Grace Lauren Ballard. Regina Figgy Cannon. Lauren Austin Ciavaco. Eric Michael Eierman. Reina Fujita Mouth. Laura Elizabeth Kitzmiller. Vanessa Eve Mortillo. Ashley Wilder Mott. Thomas Scott O'Neill. Christina Radnoti. M.E. Richardson. Catherine Phyllis Russell. Patrick Veldon Spriggs. Melanie Tsai. Benjamin Philip Weideman. Rachel Penina Whitmore Bard. Christopher Ryan Williams. Religious Studies, Concentration in Indo-Tibetan Buddhism. Sal Joseph Tufano. Religious Studies with Language, Concentration in Contemplative Religions with Sanskrit Language. James Allen Peacock. Tucker Bourne Shelton. Concentration in Contemplative Religions with Tibetan Language. Stella Catherine Bonney. Concentration in Indo-Tibetan Buddhism, Tibetan tradition emphasis with Tibetan language. Ryan Matthew Jacobson. Somatic Counseling Psychology. Concentration in Body Psychotherapy. Nora Ahmed Kamal. Erin Ann Flynn. Julie Diane Cora. Alexa Joy Levinson. Nicole Lilly. Michelle McAllister. Masha Mikulinski. Lily Morrell. Anna Marie Somera. Concentration in Body Psychotherapy and Dance Movement Therapy. Linnea Lynn Jewett. Stephanie Racuglia. Leah Claire Rolloson. Candace Elizabeth Ways. Concentration in Dance Movement Therapy, Liz Benduer. Ruby Julia Claire Binnings. Rachel Leah Brody. Tori Nicole Dow. Sylvan Erb Summers. Christina Elizabeth Hoberecht. Shyla Marie Klein. Amanda K. Parsons. Meredith Janet Potter. Galen Marie Hurd. Cynthia St. Clair. Transpersonal counseling psychology, concentration in art therapy. Erin Patricia Kathleen Boylan. Lola Candace Clark. Janice Alicia Doctorman. Ashley Michael Eyre. Whitney Beth Harris. Allison R. Heiston Phelps. Regina Hosley Rooney. Mara Brooke Holloway. Evan Michael Honerkamp. Breonna Kaylin Jones. Sarah Jean Klein. Sarah Kate Levin. Amy Lowright. Shannon Gwen Nixon. Alexandra Seckler. Amy Lynn Van Sweden. Concentration in counseling psychology. Brent Adriance. Norina Asante. Brett J. Astor. Ashley Nicole Bailey. Nicole Lynn Baumgartner. Sandra Bershad. Laura K. Borsmer. Joseph Robert Boyle. Gertie Suzanne Breffel. Shannon R. Brown. Belinda Brady Chase. Leah Cheney. Jonathan Michael Christie. Suatana Chumponko Lawang. Emmanuel Witt Diamant. Catherine Lassette. Lisa Nicole Dimmer. Catherine Elizabeth Foster. Audrey S. Frew. Jimana Garces Olgrin. Audrey Maxine Godel. Gian Gu. Shaher Azad Holland. Genevieve Rose Johnson. Mary Jennifer Lewis. Maria Cristina Lopez. Chelsea Luring. Natalie Gail McNeil. Michelle Mosca. Satori Madron. Mark Arthur Manus. Christina Joanna Martinez. Philip Keith McBrain. Liza Sade Miller. Stephanie Lauren Miller. Lily Pace. Suzanne M. Palmer. Alexandra Pasco Bellucci. Rebecca Robinson. Daniel Jacob Rothman. Nathan R. Schlingman. Jonna Robin Stone. Sandra Joy Teskey. Lara Liesma Wolf. Brittany Leigh Wood.
Jarrell Zayatz.
Jarrell Zayatz. concentration in wilderness therapy. Kelly Lynn Cooper. Samantha Ashley Field. Brittany Lee Faust. Gary Edward Howard. Rebecca Lynn Howie. This was her chord singing. James J. Jasinski. Elizabeth Ann Lewis. Loretta Ann Miller. Martha Katalin Ratliff. Jordan Alexandra Yost. Transpersonal eco-psychology. Karna Sean Michael Ellis, AKA Akasha. Kimberly Orchard. Cassie Rabbit Heart Pagaling. Jen Pierre Rich. Ari Allen Tucker. The degree of Master of Divinity, History of Religions emphasis. Bradley John Carhill. Constance Mary Casey. Guillermo Jose Estrada Rivera. Vincent Daniel Hayes. Carla Burns Miller. Mueller. Joshua Braillier Shelton. The degree of Master of Fine Arts, Theater Contemporary Performance. Christopher D. Baker. Leslie Ann Grosha. Catherine Grace Holden. Nathan Jeremy Logan. Troy McCall. Caitlin Brianna Teller. Teresa Veramendi. Stephanie Nicole Wilbert. Writing and Poetics. Ashling Daly. Roger Charles Gued. Gregory Blake Guffrey. Travis Klemppen. Rachel Parker Martin. Swanee. Angelica Marie Barraza.
Oh, wait, we're over all the way here, right?
Yeah, you just don't have to say that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Shall we applaud one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the.
Now, if the bachelor degree candidates would please stand.
Mr. President, the individuals now presented to you have completed all of the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Fine Arts. At the request of the faculty of Naropa University and on their behalf, I present them to you for the awarding of those degrees.
Upon successful completion of degree requirements by the authority vested in me, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Fine Arts with all of the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. So please be seated for a moment.
I'd like to invite Carol Clements, Dean of Naropa College, to announce the names of the BA students.
The degree of Bachelor of Arts, Contemplative Psychology, concentration in Psychology of Health and Healing. Holland Matthew Bellamy. Grace Carosio. Christopher Joseph Engler. Concentration in Psychology of Health and Healing in Somatic Psychology. Shen Holcraft. Sienna Rose Weller. Concentration in Somatic Psychology, Francesca Bini. Ventana Garin. Rebecca Florian Guidera. Karen Irvin. Jody LaFate. Raquel Lopez. Francisco Jose Santiago Rivera III. Lauren Eve Tejeda. Joy Adeline Thomas. Concentration in somatic psychology and transpersonal and humanistic psychology. Jennifer Marie Hyder. Concentration in transpersonal and humanistic psychology, Rosie Kalashayan. Ryan Walker Page. Isla Judith Sherman. Devin Michael Weiss. Concentrations in transpersonal and humanistic and health and healing, Emma Grace Arbor. Contemplative psychology and traditional Eastern arts, concentration in transpersonal and humanistic psychology and Tai Chi Chuan, Christopher John Umabale Losi. Early childhood education, Marley Rudman. Ruby McKenna Trable. Early childhood education and peace studies, Liv Tolasiska. Environmental studies, Alida. Jillian Shea Murray. Robert Normale. Lauren Brooke Strehlau. Interdisciplinary studies, concentration in environmental studies, music, and writing and literature, Robert Friedland. Interdisciplinary studies, concentration in contemplative cultural studies, environmental studies, and contemplative psychology, Kevin Racinos. concentration in environmental studies, religious studies, and writing and literature, Nico Naomi Damborn Lanson. Wait, I didn't say your name. Concentration in religious studies, gender and women's studies, and contemplative psychology, Melby Sweet. Concentrations in somatic psychology of health and healing and performance, Jory Weiss. Concentration in somatic psychology, visual arts, and performance, Valencia Wilkie. Music, Molly Collier. Emma S. Quarterman. Peace Studies, Kaylee Murphy. Olivia Marlin Nielsen. Rebecca Galbraith Kramer. Melissa Pointius. Tapten Darje. Religious Studies in Traditional Eastern Arts, Concentration in Tai Chi Chuan, Daniel Badagali Ansel. Religious Studies and Visual Arts, Catherine Rose Breen. Traditional Eastern Arts, Concentration and Yoga Teacher Training, Nolan Augustus Wilder. Concentration in Yoga Teacher Training and Tai Chi Chuan, Dennis Kerr. Visual Arts, Amanda Ray Garrison. Carolyn King Hodden. Jordan Ruiz. Visual Arts and Environmental Studies, Jessica Locke Childs. Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. Creative Writing and Literature, Justin Birding. Liat Miriam Fruman. Mara Rose Sloan Ochia. Connor Shane O'Reilly. Writing in literature and contemplative psychology, concentration in somatic psychology, Sarah Hayden Schultz. Bachelor of Fine Arts, Performance, Jessica Lee DePasquale.
So once more, congratulations to all the graduates. Thank you. So this is the fourth year in a row that nobody's told me what the charge to the graduates is, so I'm going to say that was it. Seemed pretty good. Congratulations. Please join us, if you can, at our reception at the Nalanda campus on 63rd and Arapahoe. I'll end with the closing gong and bow. We'll start walking out in dignified way, and then it will deteriorate as it does, and that's fine. So, which is fine. So, thank you all.